Alright, and welcome back. This video is going to be a little bit longer. For most part, I try to keep most of my videos right around 10 minutes or so. I think most people only end up watching maybe 2 or 3 minutes anyway. But this video is going to have just a little bit more put in than some. I'm trying to get through. I think I might need just one more video after this to show the completion of the vertical stabilizer. So I ended up putting about 2 hours worth of video into this one edited video, and I got it shrunk down to about 16 or 17 minutes, I think. Like I said, I don't expect most people will watch even a large portion of these videos. But if someone is looking for something in particular, I'm trying to include as much of the actual steps as I can. And to that extent, in this video, there's a couple spots where I actually show real-time some of the stuff that I've gone over. This is my dad. He comes in every once in a while and kind of checks on my progress and tries to see where I'm at in the project, and keeps me company every once in a while. So now I'm going back to cleaning up the skins from match drilling, doing all of the deburring. There's a deburring bit that I've got in the drill, and as I've said before, the goal is not to remove a lot of material, just enough to get rid of the sharp edges. So it's just a real quick touch each time you address a hole to try to deburr it. And I've also gone through and edited out some of the amount of deburring. There's a lot of holes. You do both inside and outside of each half of the skin. So I do end up editing out quite a bit of it. But I still like to give at least a little bit of show of what I'm doing, even as I edit it out. Like right about here, I think is where I edit it. Fast forward a little bit. So anyway, moving on to the rear spar doubler. Again, doing the countersinking, cleaning things up, and just getting it ready for final attachment. Right now the frame is cleko'd together. I had already done all of the dimpling and whatnot previously, so once I got the new skin and the new doubler, it was just a matter of redressing those two pieces to get them ready to where the rest of the frame was. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the majority of this video, is putting the frame together, and then I believe I start getting into attaching the skin to get it ready for final assembly. So here, as you always do when countersinking, just make sure you're taking little bits at a time. Take apply the countersink tool, and then take a rivet, measure, make sure that it's flush, and if it's not, then just adjust it maybe 1/8 of a turn more, and apply the countersink again, just taking out little bits of material at a time. And then just applying a primer. Again, I'm applying primer to the frame parts, and then to the parts of the skin where the frame will touch. So trying to minimize how much weight I'm adding with primer throughout the project. So here I am going through and just getting ready to start putting the first rivets into the skeleton of the vertical stabilizer, starting with the bottom rib. And as I've stated before, I was not able to get the squeezer to work. I finally figured out later, once I looked it up on the internet, and Van's Forum had a great article about it, but it was kind of counterintuitive, at least for the first-time user. But I was adjusting the squeezer distances too small, in that when I applied the full pressure, it was the two surfaces were meeting. Well, you don't want that. That basically it interrupts the power stroke portion of the drive, if you will, to where the pneumatic squeezer just can't do its job. Can't get the leverage that it needs to. So you have to make sure that you're setting a gap such that it allows the, what I would call the power stroke portion of the lever action of the pneumatic squeezer to actually impart its force. So if you find that you're not able to squeeze rivets even with 120 pounds pressure like I found, widen your gap. That's going to be the solution more than likely. It's not a bad squeezer like the forums were talking about. A lot of people would think that they have bad squeezers. It's not a bad squeezer. It's just that you're not setting the distance correctly. So in a couple videos, I think I finally figured that out and start using pneumatic squeezer again, and it's a great tool. Saves a lot of time, and it's a lot easier than using the bucking bar if you don't have to. So now I've attached the bottom and the middle rib. Now I'm attaching the top rib to the forward spar, and we'll come up to a point here where I'll kind of show my work and discuss what I've done. Ribs uses the size 4 rivets. My squeezer, for whatever reason, even set at about 120 psi, is not able to squeeze the size 4 rivets. So I've been having to get a lot of experience with the rivet gun and the bucking bars. So it's not too bad as far as getting access with the riveting gun. Like I said, I've got the 3X, so it's got a little bit of a longer throw, and so it's a little more distance, I guess. But it still gets in there pretty well into the rivets on the backside here, to the machine head. And you just go through and make sure that your gauge is measuring these correctly so that they're the right size. You're setting them properly. So the next step is going to be to put the rear spar, which is here, and connect it in place. So it'll look something like this. Last night I was able to rivet on the new doubler that I got that I ordered from Vans. Again, from this portion down is flush riveted. It's going to be mounting against the tail section, the cone. So these portions are flush mounted. So that means on the doubler you had to countersink on the back side of it, and then you dimpled the sections here. The rest of it is all size 4 rivets, and then you also are riveting on the hinge brackets for the rudder that attaches here. So the only thing I'm not sure of is that even though everything mounted, or everything was countersunk and it matched, I've got a little bit of a gap here, and I'll ask some questions about that as far as what to do with that, if that's going to be a problem, or if when it gets mounted later on, there's a couple bolts that get drilled in here later in the manufacturing process, so maybe those will hold it in place against whatever this mounts against to, but I'll have to find out. Also, the instructions tell you, let me turn this right side up. The instructions tell you to leave this hole open as well as this hole, and then these three and these three are where you rivet onto the spars or the ribs for the rest of the vertical stabilizer. So obviously you want to take these off so you make sure you don't rivet those. But the rest of it's pretty straightforward. When I
cleko'd it together. I did every other rivet hole, and then would rivet in and move the cleko'ds and finish it out. But that's just to make sure that there's plenty of cleko'ds holding it in place while you're riveting it. You don't want it to be slightly off, then you have issues later on. So anyway, that's the process. That's what the rivet heads look like on the back of it. And again, every so often I'll go with my rivet gauge. I'll take my rivet gauge for the size 4, just fit it over to make sure it doesn't wiggle, and just to make sure it's the right size. So that's where we are.
And so, as I said in there, was having some issues with the pneumatic squeezer. Eventually did figure it out. So it's a learning process as you go through the whole thing here. You know, I've never done much of what I'm doing here, and that's also to kind of lend a little, I guess, try to give people who are leery about starting this some hope, I guess. If you don't have a lot of experience mechanical wise, building stuff, metalwork especially, neither do I. It's not a difficult process. There are a lot of places to go to get help, to look up things, to ask questions, and the kit themselves are put together in such a way that your typical, the average person can pick up the tools and put this together. And that's kind of the idea of the whole kit. And that's why I like how these are put together and how well they're done. So if you are watching these videos and you have any kind of crazy idea to do this, but you're not sure, by all means, give it a try. Like I said, I'm able to do it. I'm an electrician by trade. Don't have a lot of experience with metalworking, but I found it to be a lot of fun. And like I said, there will be folks that I'll get in touch with just to go over the things that I've done and overlook the workmanship, I guess, just to make sure that there's nothing I need to readdress. So there are people, especially if you get with your local EAA chapter, there are a lot of folks there who are usually more than happy to help you out and come out and inspect your work for you. And so there's a lot of support. Now I'm just going through cleaning up the skin, getting it ready, filing off the sharp edges. I've got a straight file here, and then the emery cloth to help round off all the edges. And then after I get this all cleaned up, I'll put the frame in once again, and this time cleko'd it together and get it ready for final assembly. So like I said, this video is a little bit longer. It had a little more to it, and kind of wanted to get these videos in together to show the final processes here. This is one of the things that I actually need to work on a little bit more, I think. I don't know that I do enough deburring, especially on the skins like this. I kind of look at it and then kind of do the bleed test. If I run my finger over and it doesn't bleed, well, then it's probably okay. But I'm sure if someone was to look at it, I'm sure they would say I need to address it a little bit more. So as I said here, just getting everything ready, putting in the cleko'ds for the final assembly, and I believe the instructions when you go to put the rivets in, I believe the instructions have you start right at that junction between the middle rib and the forward spar there, and work up and down, basically work out from it, if I recall correctly. I think it has you work from the middle up to the upper spar or upper rib, and then back to the middle and work down towards the lower rib. And then here's the inside. Alright, so this is what it looks like with the skeleton cleko'd inside. As you can see, the cleko's hold the skin together to the rib. And then, as I've talked to, I primer the skeleton pieces and then where the metal will touch from the skin to the ribs there. And so as I go through, this will then all get riveted to the skins here. It has you work on specific points of it first, so you have access to it, and then the very last thing you're going to do is put the rear spar along here, and that'll be after you've riveted the rest of the frame there, so you can get access with the bucking bar to all these points here. So that's where I'm at. Hopefully, or I should have this all done here within the next hour or so. I just want to give everyone a view of what it looks like inside before I close it up. And so with that, like I said, I'm going to be closing this up, and I'll also close out this video, let it end out here. So again, I know this was longer. If you managed to watch through the entire video, I appreciate it. If you can, hit that like button for me, and hopefully get the attention of others who might be interested in building an RV-14. And we'll see you on the next video.